last sort of 10 minutes, although it feels like a very long 10 minutes sometimes when we're sitting listening to that music. But very, it's been so exciting watching lots and lots of familiar faces popping up as you're coming in from the waiting room. As normal, if you can put your camera on and you're happy to, it's great. It's great to be able to see the people that we're all here and sort of reconnect with each other. But, if for some reason it mucks up your Zoom or, puts too much pressure on your broadband, then, it's okay to keep it off if you want to. Now, yes, thank you so much. It's really exciting to see everyone back. And welcome back to this weekend 8 of Scotland's Climate Assembly. And I don't know if all of you realise quite how sort of exciting and different this is. I think we're the first assembly that I know of that actually after this time has come back together for a real whole process that we're actually going to be focusing on really creating a response for government. So just a few reminders if people are still coming in. If you haven't renamed yourself, please do try and rename yourself usually just your first name or your first name and your first initial. And that not only means that, your privacy is there and that's how you're going to get referred to, but it also helps our background team, as you know, identify who you are, link you back to who we knew when you were involved with the Assembly in the past. One other announcement for you is some of you who've maybe been scrolling through might notice that we don't have Kelly with us today. Kelly, who was the other lead facilitator, she's actually changed her job since we were last meeting together. So she's not going to be joining us as the lead facilitator, but instead we have Chris, who's joining as lead facilitator. And many of you will recognise Chris because actually she was one of our facilitators the whole way through. Do you want to say hi, Chris?
Hello, everyone. It's lovely to be back and I'm really excited to be involved in the evening. Yes, in a different way. So looking forward to it.
Okay. Now, look, when we talked way back about coming together for weekend 8, all of us at that point, really were hoping that maybe it could be in person. But unfortunately, this is the situation we're in. And actually, a number of you have said, look, it makes it much easier for you to be able to join. So really pleased to see you with us today. We're starting on the Friday night still, just so we can get a few things in, reorientate, reconnect with each other, and then start the real work on Saturday. So we do recognise that, unfortunately, not all of the 101 members that actually completed the process with us, that they completed the assembly, have been able to make it back this weekend. But really pleased, looks like over 80 of you are able to make it and are going to be here with us over the weekend for this really important process of developing that collective reaction to the government's response to the Assembly's report. Their response to the goals we put to them, the 15 goals, our 81 odd recommendations, and also the children's calls for action that were built into the report as well. Before we go any further, I just want to hand over for a moment to Josh and Ruth, our conveners, to welcome you back from their perspective as well.
Thank you very much, and hello everybody. Great to see so many people joining this Friday evening. Myself and Ruth are really delighted to see so many of you that have been able to return for this final really important weekend. We're really excited to see how things develop over the weekend as you engage with the Scottish Government response to your recommendations, and look forward to kind of listening in on those conversations and those responses. I'll just hand over to Ruth.
Yeah, thanks Josh and thanks Kayla. It's just great to be back, as everyone has said. Josh and I are going to be here the whole weekend. We'll be part of your small groups listening in and observing and being there for you. But it's just to say that we're here just to really accompany you through the final phase of this really remarkable experience together. So we're here as your companions. You can speak to us at any point over the weekend, especially if you've got any concerns or any questions that you'd like us to address on your behalf. This is going to be more tricky, as we know, online, so feel free, please, just get in touch with us by email. And I think, yeah, there we go, as if by magic, there's our email address in the chat, and Josh and I both have access to that address. Back to you, Kayla.
Great, thank you. And just before we get sort of into the business of tonight, others, if you've been scanning through again, looking at the people, you may notice we've got someone called Rosie here, who's an illustrator. She's going to be drawing illustrations all the way through the weekend with us. They're going to be used on the Climate Assembly's website and on some of the social media, and you'll be able to sort of get access to them. And occasionally we might sort of spotlight and let you see what's going on with the work that she's doing as we go along. A couple of other quick reminders. You will recognize lots of the people on the call. Some of our facilitators are here tonight. We've got the secretariat here. We've got the support team, very important support team there. So do remember, if you are having technical problems, you can contact the support team. You can either use the chat that'll go to our producers, or you know how to contact the support team by jumping through into either on text or via email, or let your facilitator know if you're having a tech issue, and or not your facilitator, we'll let one of the facilitators know if you happen to be in a room with them, and we'll be able to make sure someone is able to pick up with you and try and help. I think that's my main kind of lead-in points, and I'm going to now just share my screen with you for just a moment and give us a bit of an outline of what we're going to be doing. So, as you know, we're back here. We are reconvening Scotland's Climate Assembly, back here now for weekend 8. Reminder, and I'm sure you all have this completely memorised, this was the question we set out to try and address. How should Scotland change to tackle the climate emergency in an effective and fair way? And look right back. We started right back in 2020. We had our 7 meetings, 7 weekends together to really develop up a really solid response to that question that was put before Parliament. And hopefully all of you now have received a copy of you would have seen like a digital copy of the report when it was laid to Parliament, but actually now hopefully everyone's received one in the post. I know there's been a couple of little problems, so do let the support team know if the post hasn't got to you. It seems that some of the boxes were returned, but we'll see what we can do to try and sort that out if you haven't got one. And here we are, weekend 8. And just a quick overview of what we're going to be doing on weekend 8. Tonight's a bit of easing ourselves back in, reminding ourselves of what we've done, learning about what's happened since we met, and actually, most importantly, reconnecting with the other Assembly members. Saturday, we get into the work, starting to really explore the initial reactions to the government's response, starting off by focusing on the goals that we set, reconnecting with the Children's Parliament, because they've been on this journey the whole way with us as well, and choosing what areas we really want to focus on when developing our response back to government, our collective response. So on Sunday morning, also, to help with that, we've got a Q&A with Scottish Government ministers, and we can talk more about that later. And you're going to be working in your small groups to actually draft what will become the Assembly's statement of response. In the afternoon, we're going to do a bit more work, finalising that statement, reviewing each other, what's going on in the other groups, and then spend a little bit of time about exploring, if there are ways to continue to sort of work together or connect together to drive forward some of these recommendations. So tonight we are keeping it pretty simple. We're going to show you a couple of videos very shortly, just to sort of remind you about how far you've come, what's happened. You will have lots of opportunity to meet each other in small groups and chat with each other and catch up. We've got a bit of an update on, what some of the Assembly members have been involved in, meetings with ministers, attending COP, all sorts of things like this. So that actually has been going on in the interim in those sort of 6 to 8 months since we met last. But most importantly, that chance to catch up with each other. And right at the end, I'll give you a bit more of a heads up of what we're going to be doing when we come back tomorrow. But before we go, it'll be familiar to you, but before we start getting into this, just that quick reminder about, the ways that we agreed that we wanted to work together with each other. And particularly on Zoom, we all got really good at it after our 7 weekends, but we need to keep some of this back in front of our heads as we start today. These are the additional ones that you all proposed right back in weekend 1. And I think, you know, as we go into groups, the idea is speak to others like you want others to be spoken to. Oh, there's a typo in there that I never fixed. And I've showed you these slides lots of times. Yeah, appreciate that we will have different views as we move forward. And be honest, we're here to actually get your genuine responses. And if possible, as I said, you know, keep the cameras on, let us talk to real people if you can. But, you know, when we're in the main room, we tend to stay muted unless you're actually speaking. And I think that's all I have to say at this point. I'm going to hand over to Chris. You're muted, Chris.
Look, I'm a total professional. Absolutely, I've done this before. So thanks for that, Kayla. It's really good to look back and go, how long has this been going on? This is such a significant piece of work that you have been working on for so long now. And so we're just going to take a moment to take you back to weekend 7. You worked really hard. You can probably still remember that. You finalised all the recommendations, your statement of ambition on behalf of the whole panel. And all of these were brought together in that report and presented to the Scottish Government. So you've seen that process. There's been a lot that's happened since then. As we say, we're going to update you on that. And you should have been sent a copy if in the post or an electronic copy. And as Kayla said, if you didn't receive that, let our support team know, because we can make sure you at least get an electronic copy for the weekend. But you don't need that tonight, actually. You don't need that to hand. And over the course of the weekend, we will help you navigate through that big fat document. I don't know if you've read it all or whether it's propping up the telly, but it is quite a fat one. So if you haven't read it, we do understand, but we will help you navigate that over the course of the weekend. But let's take you back and let's do a reminder of some of the things that you talked about. Scott, you have a couple of videos. We're going to start with the first one, the Assembly's Statement of Ambition that you agreed that last weekend. And this was recorded later by the members of the Assembly. So, Scott. Amazing and lovely to hear all of that in your own words, so powerfully said. So I hope it's all starting to come back to you now. We're going to go to the second of our videos, which, if you remember, towards the end of our last weekend, we watched something that was about storytelling. And it was an exercise that helps us imagine a future for Scotland and really help us be creative and think really carefully about what the future can look like. Okay, so Scott, are you ready? We're going to be looking at that second video. Lovely.
Can I jump in for a sec, Chris, too?
Sorry?
I just want to jump in for a sec just to say, just that, you know, looking back at that now, hopefully members, as you're listening to it, will pick up some of the recommendations and stuff that we were talking about, remembering that that video was made just as we were finishing our last weekend as a way of kind of imagining a future, if everything we were asking for was actually implemented, the type of vision it could be. So it's a bit different looking back at it now and going, you know, this hasn't actually necessarily all happened, but that was the context. It was trying to capture our vision as a whole into a video. So just remember that when you're thinking about it.
Yeah, thinking about the future, really, really important. So thanks for that, Kayla. And, you know, I hope that's helped you get established get into a rhythm. And I'm going to say hello and a warm welcome to the very fabulous Ian Stewart. You are going to take us through into the next video. Ian, hi.
Hi, Chris. I feel really chuffed watching that. It's really nice bringing it all back and just seeing how it really crystallizes it. But yeah, it's fantastic to see all the faces, all the names. It's just going to all flood back to me. For the last 6 months, though, I've abandoned you. I'm now based in Amman in Jordan, so I'm working on climate change and sustainability here. I managed to make it back for COP in Glasgow, and this weekend really allowed us to have a chance of kind of thinking what the last essentially almost a year really we've had. We'll show it in the video. And the video also, as well as catching up on what the latest is on the international scene and the UK scene, Scottish scene as well, it shows that even here in Jordan, I'm not missing that weird weather, that weird climate, because you see from the back of the video that I've been digging myself out of thick snow here in Jordan, which is just bonkers. So if we can show the video, this will kind of get you up to speed really, but it's fantastic to be back amongst you. So run the video.
Thank you very much. And we have the weekend to respond and to think through some of those issues. So thanks very much for that very sobering presentation. So let us move on and do something a little bit different. Take a breath. We're going to ask you to go into some smaller groups now and say hello to each other. Okay, you haven't got a task to do, so we're going to do this a little bit differently. We're not going to give you facilitators. You're just going to go into the groups pretty randomly. So you just get a chance. Yes, you can have some discussion around how Scotland is progressing in your particular, from your point of view, but also just grab a chat, say hello. It's not facilitated. It's a bit like if we were in a room, we would wander about with a cup of tea and say hello to people. Okay, so it's a bit more informal. There are facilitators who are working this weekend, but they're not on duty in your room. They're just there to say hello. The rest of the team, the evidence group, secretariat, we've mixed everybody up and just muck in and say hello for a few minutes. We've got about 10 minutes for you to spend some time together. So just go off and say hello as if you're having a cup of tea and you're wandering about the room. Okay, so if our producers are ready, just say hello to each other and off to your groups. We'll bring you back automatically in due course. Great, everyone's coming back now.
Recorded.
There we are. Lovely to see you all. Are all the groups back now? We're going to take a break. Please, a comfort break. Go and get yourself some snacks and top up that cuppa, and we'll see you back at 8:05. Okay, just 8:05. You've got 5 minutes just for a quick comfort break. We'll see you at 8:05. Okay, so just turn your camera off, pop yourself on mute. Don't leave the call, but you just got 5 minutes break.
And we will get on to the next thing. Now, one thing that we really wanted to sort of share with all of you tonight and sort of get that frame back is that actually, as you all know, everything didn't stop at the end of weekend 7. There's been lots of things going on since weekend 7, not just the sort of the publication of the report and waiting for the government response, but actually lots of meetings and things being organised, lots of members who've actually continued to be involved in different things as we went along. So we want to give you an opportunity now to hear from the Secretariat about some of the things they've been doing in the background to keep attention on your recommendations and on your goals, and also some of the members who've been involved in attending different meetings, different activities to try and really keep focus on our recommendations. So I'm going to hand over to Susie. I know we've got a number of members lined up to share some of their experiences with you.
Great, thank you so much, Kayla. And yes, I'm Susie Townend and I head the Secretariat, and we work behind the scenes helping to organise and support the Assembly. And we thought that you would like to hear a little bit about some of the things that members have been up to since March, promoting your work, starting with the launch in June. And I'm hoping that Scott is going to be able to share the first slide that just shows a couple of pictures of the launch at the Scottish Parliament. We're testing the technology to the limit today. So let's see. Yeah, perfect. Great. Thank you. So you can see it was a sunny day, and Ian and Emma joined 3 of the children, Nadia, Tyler and Aisha, to take your report to the Scottish Parliament. And Ian, I hope, is online and can say just a couple of things about that. Ian, do you want to stop sharing the slide and spotlight Ian now?
Hiya. Yeah, 24th of June, a nice hot midsummer's day, as you can see from the top photograph there. We went through to Edinburgh and met up with Emma and Susie and Jamie. And we all had a great fun of a day in the heat. It was absolutely boiling hot. We spent some time with the kids from the Children's Parliament outside of the building, photos taken and so on, and proceeded to wait inside the Holyrood building when we finally got in to meet the party leaders. If you look at that lower photograph, when we came through from the anteroom in which we were waiting, the low lighting in that chamber that you see there, the foyer, and all the party leaders were already standing in their places, and to me it looked like something out of Shaun of the Dead, to be honest with you, when it came through, because they were all absolutely rigid, stock still when we joined them. However, we relaxed after the photographs were taken. The formal bit was over, and once the photographs were actually taken, and clearly the document had already been handed over, and they each got a copy of the report, Douglas Ross and Willie Rennie went off back to their business, because after all, this was the last day of Parliament before it closed for the summer recess. So there was a lot of busy stuff going on. However, the First Minister came over to Emma and myself and thanked us very much for the work that had been done, on behalf of the Climate Assembly on the report. And said that she was looking forward to really getting into it. And I'd said to her, all we want you to do really is to read it and act upon it. And she said, well, I've already started reading it this morning. So that was nice to hear that she'd already delved back into the substance of it. So we then, as I say, it was a bit more informal. We had a chat with Anas Sarwar. Patrick Harvey was there, but he kind of hovered about in the background. And Lorna Slater, from the Greens, was very chatty, talking about the circular economy and so on, which I now notice she has taken responsibility for in the Parliament, in the government, sorry. Again, as I say, it was a busy day for them all, and off they went back to the chambers, and we came back out into the heat, and were able to chat with some of the MSPs who had made themselves known to be, interested in what we've been doing. There was Monica Lennon from the Labour benches. She's shadow economy, jobs and fair work. And was interested in the report. Pam Gossel from the Conservatives, the regional MSP, and Gillian Mackay from the Greens, who's the Greens Health and Social Care member. And she was obviously being from the Green Party. She was in a conversation with myself, asking a lot of questions, not all of which I could answer because I hadn't actually learned the report offhand. But it was really good to see, these members were very well enthused by the work that we had done, and that having been done, and the kids from the Parliament, the Children's Parliament, had done their bit as well. we all went off for some nice cakes and coffee at a nearby cafe, and ended the day on a nice sweet note doing that. So all in all, yeah, I thought it was a very interesting day. And obviously now we're at the point where we can see what has actually come out of that in our sessions this weekend.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Ian, for sharing that. Really nice, sweet note to finish on. And I'm going to now just ask David to say, I know David finds it very hard to say one thing, but can you say one thing before we show the video? Just say one thing about your experience of being a movie star for a day. Can we let David be unmuted and highlight David? I'm not sure if that's possible. David P.
Unmute.
Can you unmute, David?
Yeah, you'll need to unmute, David. Yay.
I found my mouse eventually. It came to life for me. Well, everyone, I was very fortunate in taking part in a cartoon video with the Children's Parliament representative, a young girl called Maya, who's bright as a button. Oh, she was wonderful, really sparkled. And the two of us did a wee granddaughter double act in making this video, and it was great fun. And I really enjoyed myself immensely.
Thank you so much, David.
All the issues, I'll say this to you, I hope you all join with me in wishing them, the Children's Parliament members, the all the success in the future for the hard work they did. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David. That's perfect. And Scott, I think, is going to share the video.
Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed, Scott, and huge congratulations to David and Maya for the video, which we've used a lot in a lot of different settings just to promote the work of the Assembly. And some of the most important people that we've engaged with have been the ministers, and we've had a whole series of meetings, including some with the children. And we have Emma, Susie and Shona who are going to talk about those. And I think we have a slide that just gives a little kind of snapshot, but I'm going to start off perhaps with Susie. If you could just say one thing, because we're reasonably short on time, about the meetings with the ministers.
Yes, well, I said yes to just about everything that was offered, and it with varying degrees of kind of engagement from the ministers, but it was just really valuable, and I realized that we know more than we think we do now, and it's, you know, it's important to stay engaged and have conversations. So yeah, it was great.
Thank you. And Emma, can I ask you one thing from the various meetings with the ministers that you took away, or you want to tell the rest of the members? Can you unmute yourself? Try to unmute yourself.
Hi, Susie.
Ah, wonderful. Thank you. Just say one thing about for the rest of the members that you took away from the meetings.
Yeah, it was kind of amazing to be able to engage with the minister on those areas that are most important in tackling climate change. Especially, I was really bound on the transportation because it's a big problem, and I'm still kind of not seeing so much change. You know, after the meetings, I'm still looking forward to something. I mean, looking for the minister for a better commitment in changing things, because I think it's quite slow, especially in the line of transportation, you know.
Thank you. I think that's really good for members to hear, that there are some really positive things about meeting with the ministers, but perhaps a bit of frustration as well. That
there was. Yeah, it was. I was so happy to know that they understand these things, but I wasn't too sure of their responses, because what I went back was that these are politicians. They keep saying something, I mean, just to make us feel more comfortable, but the action is very far away from what they're saying.
We'll see when we get into the discussions and get into what they've written in the report as well. So
yeah, thank you very much indeed, Emma. And maybe Shona, you could say one thing that you took away from the meetings with ministers and that you'd like to share with the members.
Yes, I was only at the one relating to education, and probably went in being reasonably sceptical, but I actually thought I came out feeling quite positive. I was ridiculously nervous beforehand, but I'd like to say that Susie and the team worked really hard to make us feel very, very comfortable. All the preparation that went into that just helped to make it very, very smoothly run. I thought the meeting about education, I thought the ministers were genuinely interested in our points, and seemed to take away from it sort of the important things that we were highlighting. So I actually felt quite positive about it. And I think there's a follow-up meeting being planned for that. So that again would suggest that it's left me feeling quite positive that actually something might be achieved out of it. So yeah, looking forward to see how that develops.
Thank you very much indeed, Shona. And some of the meetings that we did with children, with ministers, we did involving the children, but we also did a separate event with the children. And I think Joan is going to say something, again, very, very briefly about that.
Yeah, just quickly, it was amazing getting to speak to them. The kids were unbelievable. Their knowledge was astounding. But the one thing that I think as adults we need to take on board is having a mascot and doing some crazy dancing to loosen ourselves up during the day.
Thank you. I think we all need a Brocken in our lives like the Children's Parliament have. Thank you very much indeed, Joan. And as well as engaging with ministers, Jocelyn was asked if she would go and speak to the Net Zero Committee, and I think we've probably got a slide of that. But Jocelyn, would you mind just reflecting a little bit on the nerves and the experience of working with the Net Zero Committee?
Right, yes, thank you, Susie. I had the opportunity to participate in a meeting of the Scottish Parliament Committee for Net Zero Energy and Transport, and this was at the end of September last year. And also present, so I was there representing the Assembly. Susie was also there representing the Secretariat, and Katie Reid was representing the Children's Parliament, and Liam Fowler was representing the Scottish Youth Parliament. So there were 5 ministers there on this committee from various parties, and they were quite interested in hearing our views on a number of subjects. I think they recognized that we represented, a wider voice among the people of Scotland from the work through the Assembly. So we looked at a number of issues. The first thing was looking at behavioral change, because they had been speaking with the transport or the Cabinet Secretary for Net Zero Energy and Transport, Michael Matheson, and he had said that behavioral change was one of the greatest challenges for policymakers. And so we were asked for our views on what individuals could do in behavioral change to help out with the climate, meeting our climate targets. So we discussed things that we had discussed at the Assembly, like our diets, our transport, the way we get about, and how things like home improvements to, cut down on our energy emissions through the home. And I think one of the things that was highlighted is that people are very unaware sometimes of what their carbon footprint, kind of the breadth of it is. So it's important that people are given the information so they can make changes. The other areas that we looked at were things that they were very interested in things that we had discussed at the Assembly, like active transport, 20-minute communities, empowering communities, and the barriers that prohibited people from, taking action and their, changing their behavior. So we talked a bit about fuel poverty. I think that I got across a lot of information about our recommendations during that short time. But looking over my notes yesterday, I'm not sure I answered the questions that they asked sometimes, but I did, plug a lot for the assembly.
You did a fantastic job, Jocelyn. You really did. And we were tremendously grateful to you.
And it was very good. And I'd like to say that they were interested in the voyage, kind of the journey that we went on as the assembly, and also the children's assembly. And the link between the two assemblies, how they interconnected, and how the children encouraged us, and we, interacted. We talked about COP26, and I think everyone was excited about it, but, waiting to see what came after the event. I found really positive.
Thanks, Jocelyn.
Thank you very much, Jocelyn. That's a perfect place to stop, actually, because I just wanted to show the next slide, which is hopefully of Nadine being interviewed by Channel 4 News. She was asked to speak to Channel 4 News about COP26, just on the day COP26 opened. And we had a few of our members. So we had Nadine.
You seem to have frozen Susie for a sec, but Nadine, did you want to join in?
No, I don't really have anything prepared to say, but it was a good experience. It was quite nerve-wracking because I didn't know what they were going to ask me until basically the camera was rolling. They just gave me a rough idea beforehand, and actually I don't feel like they asked me the same questions as what they said they were going to.
They're a bit sneaky, aren't they? But you did an amazing job, and
yeah,
I have to say that the Secretariat were all terribly excited to see you on Channel 4. So thank you very much indeed for that. I'm very conscious of time, so I just want to pass very, very quickly, perhaps to Shona and Susie, just to say one word each about going to COP. And that experience. So perhaps first of all to Shona and then to Susie, just one word.
One word, amazing. Well, can I have three? Scary, overwhelming, and amazing.
Excellent, thank you. Susie?
Just gonna unmute. Yeah, so I went to several events during COP, but and what we did as an assembly was referred to actually by quite a few speakers. I think we were really appreciated. But the Blue Zone, being in the Blue Zone for the day, amazing, eye-opening and exhausting. There was almost too much to take in over 100 pavilions. But reflecting back, the thing that struck me was that the members of the Children's Parliament, the two members there, and Katie, they were the only children that I saw the whole day. So I was really glad to be with them, representing the Assembly, and really glad they were there. Just wish there was more representation from children actually in the actual conference itself. So well done them. They were composed and engaged. They were brilliant. Yeah, the whole experience was amazing.
So much, Susie. And then the final
no worries.
picture that we wanted to show is of Ellie, and I think Ellie's just going to say one word or two about getting. Oh, sorry, that's a picture from COP that we just went by. But this picture is of Ellie in climate action. Do you want to say just one or two things about what you've been doing since the Assembly in March?
Yeah, I'm going to find it hard to summarise it in just a few words, but I guess. I've been really appreciative of Juliet helping me, because I've found this such an emotional roller coaster from where we left off in March, and I've been involved in as much as I had, as much as possible. And I was in Glasgow for 4 days for COP26, and I saw what was going on in the Green Zone, and I involved in a lot of the fringe events of the COP coalition, and was really inspired by a lot of what the Indigenous activists were communicating. And just since then, so much has happened, and I feel like I've gone from kind of despair and kind of like a deep mourning actually for the loss of the natural world after reading the responses of the Scottish government, but I now transforming that into rage that is making me feel very active. So I've actually just signed up to become a Green Party candidate as the councillor for local wards and other things that are happening, trying to channel the rage in a positive way.
Thank you very much indeed for that, Ellie. Really appreciate it, and really appreciate all those other members who have been doing things over the last few months that we haven't highlighted. But I think it gives you a bit of a glimpse of what's been going on. And I'll pass back to Kayla.
We're just about now to pop you into different breakout rooms. You'll get a chance to sort of meet up with some different people and really take the opportunity to find out more about some of the things people have been involved in and share anything that you've been doing, whether it was like an official thing like attending a meeting or getting involved in more things like Ellie has been doing, or actually just making changes in your own life as a response to trying to address the climate emergency. So we're going to pop you in for about 10 minutes and we'll get the rooms open now.
Okay, yeah, some of you are coming back. Here we are. How lovely to see you all again. Nearly all back. Is that everybody back? I think it is. Lovely. Well done. That's really good, and glad you're able to have a little catch up there with each other. And we've got one more breakout just before we finish this evening as well. So that's a really important part of getting back together and getting those conversations going. But before we do that, we wanted to take a moment just to be mindful and have a think about some of the difficulties actually that dealing with this subject, dealing with this whole issue, and how actually difficult and challenging this subject can be, and the emotions that it creates and the feelings that it creates. And we've already referred to that earlier. And it can create feelings of anxiety, of fear, worry, and tension linked to climate change. And if you remember, we introduced the concept in some of the previous assembly events of there's an actual concept of climate anxiety, when this sense of fear and worry maybe can feel overwhelming. It can be something you're experiencing that makes you feel worried or nervous, scared of the consequences, or just feeling overwhelmed. It's like, are we ever going to make a difference? But actually can affect your whole mood even. And we just wanted to make a note of that, not just make a big thing of it, because we just wanted to say it because it's perfectly normal. It's common. It's a lot of people can feel like this. So, and it's not special. It's normal. This is a really important range of issues that we're talking about this weekend and over these weekends. So we just wanted to say that. And if you are feeling worried or you're finding it difficult to process some of those emotions, including making you sad or frustrated, we have got people you can talk to. We do actually have a quiet room as one of the rooms over the course of the weekend. And we've got Ewan and Lindsay from the Climate Psychology Alliance that we've roped into this weekend to help us on that journey, because these emotions can be really, really real. So they're part of the team. We've got a quiet room, so if you need to step back or step aside and talk to somebody, have a little word with your facilitator or use the chat to contact Juliet or contact the support through that route. Just reach out. We can pop you into that room if you're feeling overwhelmed, or just even take a step back and then maybe you can talk to somebody after the meeting, after our event as well. So it's really important. We recognise these things can be really challenging and difficult. This is big stuff. So look after yourself as you go through this weekend, because you are really important. Okay, so let's go into our next breakout. So Kayla, are you going to tell us a bit about that?
Well, really, we're just going back in. It's a chance again to catch up with hopefully a new group of people, share some of the things that you've been involved with, or some of the changes you've made in your own life, or just what else has been going on for you between the last time we met and today. So we're going back in for about 10 minutes, and I hope our rooms are good to go. And I think that looks like everybody, all the rooms are closed. So look, thank you very much, everybody. Hopefully this evening has started you get your head back into what we've been thinking about, get your head back into where we were when we finished up with our statement of ambition, finished up with that vision for what we were aiming for, what we were putting forward as the way we wanted to see Scotland change. Ian's given you a bit of an update of just some of the things that have happened since then. And you've heard from different members about things they've been involved in, things that they've been doing to keep the agenda focused on delivering some of these changes and recommendations. We are, and hopefully had a chance to chat, but we are going to go back to a bit more like normal come tomorrow morning. We will be spending most of the weekend, in a single, with a single group, working together towards actually creating sections that are going to be made up together to be our statement, our collective statement on behalf of the Assembly of the response back to government after considering some of the things that, they've been really positive about in terms of the recommendations. We heard that from some of the stories people were telling and from the document there, but also, some of the things that you may be less pleased about or more disappointed about. And that's what we're going to be focusing on. I remind everybody that, it'll be important tomorrow, if you do have the documents that arrived in mail or have them electronically, try and have them with you. Try and have them with you so that at times, we're not going to work through it systematically. We're not going to expect everyone to have read every word, although I'm sure some of you have. But it means we've got it there as a reference, that when we start talking about, let's think back to that recommendation, or why are we not happy about, maybe an answer here, or what have they actually delivered for us? We can take a look and just check in on information so that we don't have to remember everything. Okay, so before we finish up, I was just going to see, I know Josh and Ruth have been Josh and Ruth have been in the breakout room. So I just want to invite Josh and Ruth, if you did want to have just a moment's reflection.
Yeah, for sure, Kayla. I mean, so great evening. And I think this is just the beginning of the weekend. Let's just pace ourselves to the weekend. I guess what I noticed in the breakout rooms was that this evening's given us a real touchstone into a huge range of emotions, from real anger and rage through to hope and possibility and everything in between. And that's all absolutely fine to feel those feelings. But it's also like this major reunion, like a big gathering of friends that have been apart for all this time and are now together again. So, and that can be euphoric and also can be slightly disappointing. You think, oh, is that really who I'm with? And it's also so exciting to see everybody. So just take care of your emotions and how you're feeling as you then switch off and move away from the screen. We're in this for the long haul, not just for this weekend, but we're all committed to this journey of some kind of response to climate emergency for the long haul. So this is a chance just to step back, take lots of deep breaths, move away from your screen and from the issues, and look forward to seeing you all over the rest of the weekend.
Hey, thank you, Ruth. And I am conscious of time, so I think we will just sort of wind up there. We do have a lot to get through on the weekend, but as Ruth said, you've worked so hard, and actually once you've been working and getting back into the swing of it, you made a great team pulling together things last time. And I think I'm really hopeful that we can pull together something really solid response that we can put back to government. They've engaged with what you said. It's our chance now to have that sort of conversation back and keep it as an ongoing dialogue there. So thank you all very much. Remember to try and have the documents with you in the morning if you've got them. If not, let us know. We can at least send you an electronic one. And yeah, we're starting at 10. If you can join a little bit early. I know there's been some comments about the music. We'll see whether we need a little dance party in the morning to inspire us and wake us up. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your evening, and we will see you tomorrow morning.